Hi guys, today we're going to show you how to replace the rear brake pads and rotors in Volvo XC40. When you work on the rear left wheel, you have to use the wheel blocks to block the front right from both sides. Before we remove the rear wheel, we have to activate the rear brake service mode. This will allow us to compress the caliper piston. For this, first we have to press and hold the engine start and stop button. Shortly you guys will see lights flashing on the instrument panel. All of them. The next step will be to press and hold the gas pedal. Press it and hold it. Next, press and hold, push it down the parking button like this. And then we'll press the engine start and stop button once, and then we'll press and hold it again. And shortly you will hear the motor working in the back. Unwinding all the way, and now it's in service mode. Also you will see the parking brake icon flashing on the instrument panel. Now we can turn off the vehicle and we can start working on our rear brakes. Now we can remove the caps from the bolts, and you can use the fingers, or you guys can use pliers as well. You may need to use the key. Usually it's located in the trunk, in the spare tire compartment. And now we can loosen our bolts. We'll need to use 19mm socket. Loosen all of them before you lift the back of the vehicle. There are two jacking points underneath the vehicle, one plastic and one metallic located right here. We'll use the jack stand and we'll use the hydraulic jack for this point and the jack stand for this one. Make sure that the wheel is off the ground. And again guys, there's a small arrow here on the plastic. This is our dedicated point. Position the jack stand underneath the point. It will partially touch the plastic, but it's not a big deal. And now when it's fully stationary, we can start lowering it back down a little bit. Now we can remove the bolts. When you remove the last bolt, it's a good idea to hold the wheel as well, because it may come off unexpectedly. This is how the caliper looks like. You can see the brake pads from here, and in the back our electric parking brake motor. Now we'll remove two caliper bolts. We'll use 14mm socket. Unscrew it counterclockwise. Now we'll use the wrench to completely remove the two bolts. Now you can remove the caliper. Our goal for today's video is to inspect our braking system, and of course we'll show you guys how to replace the brake pads and the rotors as well. But for now, what we found so far is we have some wet spots around our piston, which is not normal, and will have to be addressed soon. So we might have to replace the interior gasket and the boot. This is not a major leak, but we definitely need to keep an eye on it. Right now you have to carefully place the caliper approximately in this area. You have to make sure that you don't damage any wiring or the hose, and this is how it can be arrested. To replace the brake pads, first you have to remove two springs on top. Also guys, when you remove the brake pads, keep in mind that there is a small metallic thing here which prevents them from coming out. So you either have to bend it in, or you can remove the caliper bracket completely. And since we are showing you how to replace the rotor as well, we will remove the caliper bracket. For this we'll need to use the 15mm socket. Again guys, it will take some effort, and you can also use a breaker bar. It will simplify this process. And now the bracket, the caliper bracket is off together with our brake pads, as you can see guys. Now you can simply push them inside like this and they will come out easily. And this is our rotor. To remove the rotor you guys will need to use Torx 30-bit to remove the screw that holds it in place. Torque is minimal here. You can either use your hands to remove the rotor. If it doesn't come off, you guys can use the hammer and hit it on the inside part, not on the outside part, and then yeah, it will come off. Before you install the new rotor, you guys need to clean this surface from the rust, and then you'll be able to install the new one. If you're going to reinstall the old rotor like we will, in this case, you also have to clean the surface on the inside of the rotor as well. The goal is to remove rust. The new rotors usually come covered in oil, that's why we will use the brake cleaner, and besides that, of course, it will remove any other contamination from both surfaces on both sides where pads meet the rotor. So lightly wash it like this with a brake cleaner on one side and on the other as well. And now our rotor is ready to be installed. The torque for this screw is 10 Newton meters. Now it's time to push in the caliper piston. For this, first lift it up, and we'll use the regular spreader to push it inside. This will allow us to install the new, not worn out brake pads. And again, this is why guys we enabled the rear brake service mode in the beginning of the video, because if you have not done that, you would not be able to push it inside because of this electric motor. When you compress the caliper pistons, you have to control the level of the brake fluid inside the brake fluid reservoir. Normally it should not come out, but and this is the level that you guys can see right now, but if you have been adding the brake fluid, then there's a risk that it may run over. So it's always a good idea to check it while you compress your caliper piston. And this is the part number for the electric parking brake motor. We have the new brake pads from Volvo, and this is the part number. Set comes with 4 brake pads for both wheels. It also comes with all the hardware and the new bolts as well. Also guys, this is how the new brake pads compared to the worn out ones, which again in our case the vehicle only has about 20,000 kilometers, and this is how the worn out 20,000 kilometers brake pad looks like. It still has lots of life, and that's why we will keep it until later. When you install new brake pads, you have to make sure that the pad with two dots in the middle has to face you when you install it, and the pad with the dots on the sides has to face the caliper piston, and you can see the mark from the previous one on the old pad. To remove the brackets, you can use a screwdriver to pry them out like this. And right here, guys, we have the replacement one, which are exactly the same. Before you install the new brackets, you have to make sure that you clean the surface underneath from the dust and rust. Make sure it's clean. Insert the new one, simply push them inside. And this is the part number of our caliper bracket. And also, guys, this number 302 is actually the diameter of our rotor. Now you need to visually inspect the two rubber boots, make sure they are not damaged, and we will also remove the slider pins and apply the new silicone. You can pull out the slider pin. Now we'll use the rag. And apply a small amount of new silicone and spread it around. Insert it inside, and now it moves freely. Repeat the process with the second one. Also, as you can see, this pin is slightly different. It has this black plastic piece on the end, so don't mix them up when you guys remove them. This one doesn't have the plastic, and this one does. So make sure they go back into the appropriate places. Before we reinstall the caliper bracket, we will remove the old thread lock from the bolts. We can use the same brush. Reposition the caliper bracket. We'll use one bolt for now. And we will apply a small amount of the thread lock on the other bolt. Don't put too much. This is enough. And we will install this bolt. And now repeat the process with the second bolt. Again, apply a small amount. tighten the bolts all the way. And now you will need to use a torque wrench and tighten these bolts to 110 Newton meters. Now we can reinstall our brake pads. Again, the ones with two dots on the sides will go inside. And the one with dots in the middle go on the outside. And also, guys, as you can see, you actually can push them in from the outside. These pins that actually don't allow them to come out, spring pins, they will let them be pushed inside, but you won't be able to take them out when you remove them. They prevent them from coming out, but you can push them inside when you reinstall them. The new brake pads come with the new springs as well. Install the new springs. Install both springs. They simply get pushed into the openings on the brake pads. The springs are meant to pull our brake pads away from the rotor, and these small pins actually hold them in place, and that's their purpose. Now it's time for the caliper itself to go back on. You have to push the pads in and at the same time put the caliper on top. And now you can reinstall the two bolts. They're using 14mm range. Now we will use the torque wrench with the extension, and the torque for these bolts is 40 Newton meters. After the installation, the caliper should be moving freely like this. And this is a part number for the left hand side caliper. Before you install the wheel, make sure that all our sensors are connected. The ABS sensor, here we have the connector for our electric parking brake motor, and make sure that the brake line is intact as well. Now the wheel goes back on. When you reinstall the wheel, you have to make sure that there is no gap between the rotor and the wheel. First we will hand tighten all the bolts in a crisscross manner, and then we'll use the torque wrench. Now we'll partially lift the vehicle again. Until our jack stand is loose, we can remove it. Now we'll use the torque wrench to tighten all the bolts, again in the crisscross manner, and the torque is 140 Newton meters. Also, it's a good idea to recheck the torque for all the bolts after around 80 kilometers. And now you can repeat the service, replace the brake pads or rotors, on the other wheel of the vehicle. After we have finished working on both wheels, after we have reinstalled the calipers and the wheels, only now we can disable the rear brake service mode. And as you can see, guys, our parking brake light is still flashing. Yeah, I can see it right now. And now we can disable the service mode. The only difference will be is instead of pushing the button down, we'll have to pull it up now. So we'll repeat the whole process. I will first press and hold the engine start and stop button. Again, we'll see all the lights on the screen first, and then I will start the procedure. So I will press the gas pedal, press and hold, then I will pull the button up, and then I will press the engine start and stop button once, and then I will press and hold. So right now the gas pedal has been held, the button and the engine start and stop button, and now we'll hear the motor working in the back. It will return to the proper position. And now our procedure is complete. You can release all the buttons and the pedal, and our parking brake light will become solid. Also, after you have serviced your rear brakes, you have to press the brake pedal a few times. Press the pedal until it becomes solid. And now we can actually disable our parking brake as well. For this we have to press the brake pedal and press the button, and the light will disappear. Now we can start driving. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was helpful. We'll see you in the next video.